So color me shocked when D pretty much sides with his sworn natural-born enemy. Now granted, he does say that he's not picking a side, he's fighting for himself, so maybe sometimes that's going against the Rangers, sometimes that's going against the Dusters and the bosses. But at the end of the day, if he does help a side killing Petrola, one of the head honchos, yeah, that I don't think you can really argue that's not a betrayal of his people, and I'm proud of him for doing so. I am. I think the longer the show goes on, the more Hibiki's mindset of changing it from the inside versus destroying it from the outside is making a lot more sense, because the deeper we go, the more we realize there's definitely corruption inside this whole situation. You can look at the Red Keeper as an example. The dude's a menace. But when you look at Blue Keeper, or honestly, a lot of the other ones seem relatively sane, and not that they're power hungry or money hungry, so it's like, it's a complicated situation, but there's a reason why that whole situation of him reflecting of the future he wants, and then the reality of what would happen if he did conquer the world. Everyone that he's starting to care about would be killed, and it's a very difficult situation for someone who's built his life around destroying, conquering humanity, now realizing that maybe it isn't exactly what he wants to do. It's gonna be spicy going forward, but I expected another shocking episode given the past month or so of Go Go Loser Ranger. But I think the gloves were off when you saw him not only stab the fool in the shoulder, but then cut around. I thought, I was like, he killed him. Turns out Buddy had like a couple dozen more bodies, but still, wild experience. Of course, I have full live reactions over on Patreon. If you want to see my full link of thought to any of these Go Go Loser Ranger episodes, it's going to be over there exclusively. I really hope that it wasn't a rumor, because when the show first started, it was rumored that it was supposed to be a 2-core, then it became a split core. We need that second core in fall, because not only will it make the fall season even more juicy and packed as it already is, it just feels like we're getting deeper and deeper into this wild experience, and it's only getting better. The pacing, the structuring, the way it can make me go, did they really just point a freaking TV remote, mute a fool, fast forward a fool so the attack would immediately connect, pause? I think that's the most busted artifact in this show. A remote that, I don't even know what the limitations is. Batteries? Like, once the batteries are drained, maybe you can only use so many commands before the batteries go out. But the idea that you could just point a remote at an enemy, pause them, and then stab them in the face, man. That's insane. As much as the guy's kind of an asshole, the second in command, or like the next one up for Red Keeper's spot, has a rifle that shoots fire dragons. That's metal. Just in general, the weaponry, someone has a monster jaw, like, what the hell are we looking at? But give me more. Give me a whole episode just watching these characters fight, because honestly, there's like 2 or 3 moments where groups of characters look like they're about to drop the hottest mixtape known to man just based on the pose they're striking. And there wasn't a hotter mixtape than the final shot of this episode when D decides to take the stand with his sworn-born enemies over here. But like, I liked what they did, because the whole like reveal with Petrola and Blue Keeper coming in. Blue Keeper was such an anomaly last week, because I think really up to this point, we just associated the leaders of the Keepers to be kind of dicks. But the idea of like what he was seemingly losing, and yeah, maybe he has an attitude problem, but he doesn't give you the impression he's a bad person. In fact, he's actually pretty reasonable with why he wants to hunt down these monsters given what he's seeing. But then you start seeing him get pushed back, and the idea of such a cool design. The initial design of him was fine, but like the combat design of like all the doppelgangers was just so cool. And once we start cutting them down, slicing and dicing, apparently as long as one body could get out, basically he would be fine. Right now, I think we're down to the last body, but then again, I've thought that a few times in this episode, and he surprisingly had more, so who knows, we kill this one and he's still out there. Because here's the thing, we know there's probably other bosses than just him, so if they do commit to killing off Petrola, we would then probably just have other bosses he'd have to deal with. But if he gets away, it becomes more spicy, because then D could be known as a traitor because he sided with fighters. So there's a lot of ways to take it, but either way, if D gets the finishing blow on actually a boss, that will be next level insanity. The 3D that they used in this episode was fantastic, which it's been since the beginning, but I love the idea that when it does go into 3D, they still keep a relatively like 2D hand-drawn art direction on top of a 3D model. So you still get that fluidity of the 3D movements, but it still looks like it's hand-drawn. They just cracked a really nice code to make it pop out. And in an episode with as much insanity as this one had, it's really interesting when you do see that 3D, you're like, I know what they're doing, but I'm actually glad they went with this rather than criticizing it because, oh, I would have preferred a hand-drawn. No, it's like, I like when they go 3D in the show because it just works out so well. It's funny though, because I mean, the group who are like, hey, like what happened to the keys? Like, should we go do it? Did the bell ring? And they're like, I don't think we need to worry about that anymore. Here's the thing, I firmly believe that this organization would still fail you even if you killed the boss. They'd be like, hey, you didn't get the key, so you still fail. What should happen is that if you all survive this whole situation together, everyone should be passing. Will they? I don't know. If it's up to Red Keeper, probably not. If it's up to Blue Keeper or the others, they probably will pass, but I guess only time will tell. But like, it's actually insane when you think of it, because this show's been pretty wild since literally the first episode. Like, what are we watching? But ever since they did this whole like, hey, here's this 2-day event to pass, every episode is just blowing my mind more and more. And it's not an exaggeration, it's legitimately, what did they actually just do that? Did they actually just commit to that? Did they shock me in this way? Every other minute, I'm just like, what's going on? Now, from their point of view, better version of Mineta, basically they assume he's dead. I don't think so. I think X has definitely saved his ass and he's like chilling somewhere, probably bleeding, but I think he's still alive. If not, that's unfortunate because I actually kind of like his character, but it's getting spicy, man. It's even hard to imagine like where you go, because I guess the natural progression of D's character would be getting higher and higher up the ranks. But my question is at some point, if like he really does start committing more to Hibiki's mindset of changing it from the inside, when is Hibiki gonna get like popped back up to say I told you so? Because as far as we know, he's just chilling in some forest somewhere with one arm. So justice for Hibiki, I guess, but brilliant. A couple more episodes to go before then we have to wait for a second season, a second core, and I'm gonna need more. Let me know what you thought down below, and everything about the insanity of this episode. Where do you think D's character is properly heading now with all these revelations? Let me know down below. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course ring that bell, and like I mentioned, we got those full live reactions over on Patreon, and hey, while you're over there, I'll also give you a video shout out. Alrighty, so today we got Nelson, Bill, Bassman280, Waka, Connor Brown, GR Vallis, Searcher7, Rockin09, Pav, Ruben Sinha, and Maury. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care, and you all have a good one.